In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you some colored pencil coloring techniques. So if you look in the Drawing Center, you'll see this sign that says quality versus beginning coloring techniques. And I'm going to show you some of these quality coloring techniques and how you can avoid having these kind of beginning coloring techniques or lack of technique. So as always, start out with your drawing just doing pencil. And the first thing I'm going to show you is just the one direction flat coloring technique. So let's say I'm doing something that I want to be colored flat with a lot of patterns, like this drum here. What I want to do is, instead of starting out from the middle and coloring like this, which sometimes causes my students to go out of the lines a little bit, like here, if you start out by outlining the perimeter of the shape that you want to color, so, whether you're coloring in, a flower or the sun or someone's, pupil in their eye, if you outline it first and then color it in, it's a lot easier to stay inside the boundaries of that line. It also creates a nice sharp edge for you. Now you'll notice when I'm coloring all in the same direction. You don't want to color in multiple directions like I have here. And you want to make sure that you have it nice and solid and that you don't have a lot of empty spaces. And also you'll notice when I'm coloring that I'm pressing with kind of even pressure, and not, some areas soft, some areas hard, which would wind up being having kind of an inconsistent color, which I don't want when I'm doing flat coloring. So now I'm using Prismacolor Scholar colored pencils. These are really nice soft colored pencils. The colored part is very soft on them, so I actually don't have to press too hard to get a nice even color. So that's how I would do it with just kind of flat way. Now I'm going to show you how to do texture. So let's look at my elephant drawing here. That's a good place to do some texture. So if we look at a textured drawing of an elephant, you can see they have this kind of rough, wrinkly skin. So what I can do is, to create a texture, usually what you want to do is you want to draw kind of a pattern or a motif that's darker and then color lighter on top. So I'll show you how to do this. So like, for example, this is scales, fur, wood grain. So let's look at like the texture of the elephant's ear. So in here, I'm going to kind of start out by, I'm going to outline the bottom edge here where I'm going to be working. And I'm going to draw in some of his ear wrinkles. There. Now, so that's going to kind of create the texture that it's wrinkled. And then when I go to color, so outline that edge, I'm going to color a little bit lighter, but I'm still going to make it consistent so I don't have white spaces when I'm doing this. And I'm making sure that I'm coloring nice and even and consistent. Now, if when you're doing this, you notice that your texture lines start to blend too much where they're not showing up anymore, then you can go over them a little darker in some areas like this. So you can kind of, experiment with how dark or light you can make. If you want to make some areas where it looks like it's folded, you could color that area a little bit darker, like we have on this elephant's ear, and that creates kind of a texture. If I were doing my grass to show like a grass texture, I can do these nice hard kind of texture lines for my grass and then color soft and consistent on top of that, no white spaces. And that would create the texture of grass. Now, let's say I wanted to blend some colors or shade some colors. So let's look at blending first. So for this type of elephant, I'm going to have him be gray. But let's pretend I wanted him to be some kind of a crazy, like, rainbow elephant. I'm going to make the bottom of his trunk red. So I'm going to start out by coloring with consistent pressure down here. And now as I want to start to blend into my next color, I'm going to color softer. Really, really soft. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yellow, and let's say I wanted from here down to be yellow and then have it blend in to be kind of like orange. I'm going to color with the firm pressure in the area where I want it to be really yellow. And then I'm going to go on top of that. That's going to kind of blend it. And I'm going into my red a little bit. And now it looks like orange mixed in there. So blending your colored pencils is also a nice technique. And then the last one I want to show you is value or shading. So if we look at like the elephant's head here, some areas are lighter and some areas are darker. So if you would like to do something like that, what you do is, so I'm going to just draw my little crevices in there so they're nice and dark, those little wrinkles. I'm just going to look for the darker areas and I'm just going to press a little bit harder in those spots, and then gradually get a little bit lighter as I get toward the middle. And that's going to kind of give his trunk and his face kind of this feeling of having some volume. Now another thing that I could do if I wanted to create, and I can kind of go over it again too to blend it. If I wanted to create another color that I don't have, like let's say I wanted to do gray, I can either color light with the black and leave it gray, or I can color light with the black and then go over it with the white, and then I get a really nice gray color. So you could do that too, like if you wanted to create some in-between colors, like if you wanted to do a dark pink, doing like red and white together. So those are just some basic coloring techniques. Don't forget to look at the poster that I have in the Drawing Center before you start using your colored pencils. Make sure you keep your colored pencils sharp, and if you use the electric sharpener, don't put them in until the blue light comes on. Put them in just for a second and take them out because they sharpen way faster than a regular pencil. And don't forget to check the craftsmanship rubric. You want to try to have your craftsmanship at least at a 3, but a 4 is ideal.